this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. So, how is everybody doing today? It's been a good day for me. Middle on the Mandela lands here. I did find some. I didn't look very hard, so that could be part of it. Seems like a lot of people are in already, or it's a few people talking a lot. I'm not sure which. Renee Cruz, David Kent, Shari D, of course. Angels Don't Fall is back. Melson Mandela. See, that might be everything. Oh, and no, wait. I'm sure I saw somebody else earlier. Linda Lavalampson, General Sorrow, Joe Blore. I feel like Austin 108. I still feel like I missed somebody. I might have scrolled by too quickly. Okay, so anyways, how's it going? What is that weird thing in the thumbnail? First question. Okay, this is not the weirdest Mandela ever, but it's kind of weird for me just because I've been in this area and I really don't think this was here, but I kind of was taking a little revisit to the colored sand beaches because it's been a number of years since I've looked into that. And this one is over here in California, Central California, Big Sur area, and it's supposed to be purple sands, Pfeiffer Beach, which is a P-F-E-I-F-F-E-R, Pfeiffer Beach, purple sand, coastal gem. Now it's not the purplest of the purple, but there's definitely areas of pretty intense purple. Then you look over here, it doesn't look so purple, but then up here's purple. So I don't know what exactly is up. It's just that this area is really close to Jade Cove in Big Sur. I was looking at it. It's like really close. And we were up there before. We went to Jade Cove and we checked out all the local beaches, and some of them more than one time. And I never heard of this. Look at that area there. So it's supposed to be little tidbits of garnet somehow collected. You know, the whole storyline of how this works confuses me because garnet is a heavy stone. So if there's tidbits of garnet, wouldn't they like kind of sink down into the sand and the lighter stuff would come up to the top? So it just seems weird to me that garnet would be all collecting on the top. As you can see, it clearly is here. And I mean, how much garnet would there have to be in the cliffs in order to have this much red here? And when it's, 99.99% dirt, I just don't get how all this garnet is on the top. And we'll see that kind of again and again for a lot of these beaches, these colored beaches. So they're going to say it's this and that gemstone that's causing it. But a lot of times those gemstones are heavy. So why is it accumulating on the top? Now, I have kind of seen this a little bit with sometimes as there's a dark silt that for some reason comes to the top, but I hadn't really looked into it. But then, people were telling me that these are minerals of the area of the dark silt. And I'm like, again, usually the minerals are harder, heavier, more dense stones. So let's see, I'm making sure it's still on. Yes, we're still good. But this one just especially because I'm like, that's right, by Jade Cove, never heard of it. Purple sand, I see. I thought it was red algae. Yeah, I know. So I looked up all the colors. The one I did not find was blue sand. So try to keep that in mind. We do not have any blue sand. They did have a little mumbling mention of sodalite sand over where there's sodalite mining in Namibia. But it wasn't a beach or anything, and it was just right where the mining is. And I guess they crunched up a lot of sodalite. So sodalite is kind of that blue, almost like lapis, but not quite. So it's low enough in value that you could see a beach made of sodalite. But it's not here yet. So keep your eye. Every time there is something going on, my eyes start to make trouble. Like your eyes hurt? All right, see, now I've heard of the black sand beaches and I've heard of the white sand beaches, but that's interesting that you brought up Hawaii because they have some other stuff. So, okay, that was the one of the reasons I was really skeptical is like I said, I was right in that area. We very much did inspect all the cool beaches of the area. So, we do have a fair lot of pink sand beaches. Now, I don't think they're quite this pink. Again, with the Photoshop and stuff, it makes things a little confusing because here we have a whole bunch of photos of very extreme pinkness. Let's see. This might show more realistically. It doesn't look quite as pink when you have a more realistic YouTube kind of thing. Whoops, let me turn off that sound. Okay, it's still pretty pink. So this one's in Serai Beach in Indonesia. I didn't feel these were as extreme, but still. Okay, so now Green Sand Beach. That one is in somewhere in Hawaii. The Big Island. Yes, Hawaii. Papakolea Green Sand Beach. It looks like it's pretty dark green. I think they were saying olivine. It's another mineral. Now, supposedly this is also, I mean, it's like all bits of, I mean, that's kind of crazy. That's a lot. I don't, I'm like, okay, this is a different location, but I'm going back to Papakolea Green Sand. So here's some images. Now, you would think that this was some kind of plants, but no, it apparently is actually the olivine found in the basalt of certain lava flows. But again, olivine is pretty heavy. I don't understand why it's all collecting on the top like that. And I mean, if you look at the hills, they're not made out of olivine. I mean, it's still 99% other rock. So, in the past, I think that tiny bit, 1% of green would just get lost in the 99% of brown. So, okay, and there's hiking. Now, I believe this actually is plant material here. All right, so here again, you can see the olivine is like sitting on the top of the sand. I don't know, a little less green looking over there. Again, with the Photoshop, it gets confusing, but it looks like it's fairly legit. All right, here's some more images of that same one. Papalokea again. Looks pretty green. I'm trying to wrap my brain around it because this is the color of olivine that I am familiar with. And then when I look at it from far away on this image, it's suddenly looking green, but not the right color of green. But yet here it is. This looks more like the right color if it was like miles of or pounds of olivine. Of course, every one of these, they say, oh, this is a secluded beach that most people haven't heard of. I haven't heard that. Have we not heard that before? I think this was me looking into Pink Komodo Beach again. Here you could kind of see it's different along the shoreline. I think that this Pink Komodo Beach is actually more like a peach pink. Still amazing, but I feel like, you could hide a lot with the Photoshop because you could hide timelines with the Photoshop because in some timelines this could be the beach, and some this could be the beach, and some this could be the beach. There might be some where you hardly have any, and it's all Photoshop. I mean, like, I don't think all of these people Photoshopped it, right? But see, like, right there, it's not pink hardly at all. So, but that's, like, the outlier. That's the least common one of all of them. So, I don't know, just the way things are lately, I just feel like we're sitting on different versions at once. Let's see, okay, that was Pfeiffer again. Blue bananas article sounds like they taste better than yellow. And see, maybe in some timelines they're like really, really good, or they taste just like ice cream, and in some they taste almost like banana. And then I'm really starting to wonder that. I think part of it is, you know, I also just noticed my taste buds really are variant, and maybe that's made me distrustful of timelines a little bit. But Times of India. One day everything tastes really salty. Another day it tastes... Ooh. Wait, wait a minute. The inside is blue also? I don't think I've seen a banana where I only remember the outside being blue. I don't really remember the whole thing being blue last time I checked. Have you heard of... I mean, I've seen the blue bananas, but like I said, it was just the peel. There exists a variety of banana and it's blue. It's called Blue Java. Tastes like vanilla ice cream. I mean, that does... You know, that would be awesome if you could just eat bananas and, like, have lower calorie ice cream. Incredibly, they taste like ice cream. I mean, you'd have to get your little clutchy paws on in one and really taste it. These are triploid hybrid of seeded bananas, Musa acuminata and Musa balbisiana. Grow to 20 feet. Leaves are silver green. They require a temp of 40 degrees Fahrenheit. In Fiji, they're Hawaiian. They're called Hawaiian banana. And in the Philippines, they're called Cree. You know, one of these days, maybe I'll just build like a big greenhouse covering, and then I can just plant stuff in the ground, and then it'll be 40 degrees under there, right? All right, so blue Java banana. What's getting me is I don't remember them being blue inside. Blue Java banana. But you can see how these things sneak along. Having a little bit bluish tinge is not that weird, but then when the actual flesh is blue, it's starting to get weird. Okay, well, that is not one though. See, they're saying that's a blue Java, but it looks totally yellow. That one also makes it look, you know, maybe they're not blue inside, and that somebody was photoshopping that, or maybe it's some timelines they're blue and sometimes they're not. You know, it occurs to me that although I saw the banana before, I didn't actually see the inside of the flesh in the old photos. Now, if it is neat blue looking inside, you would think that they would make a point of showing you the inside flesh. Because as you saw with that one image, it was quite striking. But yeah, maybe that's why. Okay, here we go. This really looks like they're not blue inside. At least not yet. Maybe eventually. I also do feel they're a little more blue. I mean, we've had these on before, but they look brighter to me than I recall seeing them before. So I think we might be sneaking towards brighter colors. You can see that one. All right, let's see. I'm looking at this. This really looks like it's been photoshopped here. Now I'm really suspicious. There's almost no images of the inside. All right, here's one. Now, that one doesn't even look blue on the outside. I don't know, maybe they're not ripe when they're blue. All right, I'm going to just see this YouTube one real quick. But, you know, like a lot of YouTubes...
Hi, friends.
Yeah. That is not really them. That is, there's no way.
To our channel.
Come on, they don't look like that. Those are plastic. Okay. So this video probably all just is a compilation of images that were scraped off the internet. So put together by some AI bot. Okay, so not helpful. It looks to me like they're not yet blue, though. Again, that one looks really photoshopped. At least not in the current timeline. I would not exactly be shocked if it came up later that they were, but... Yeah, see, those don't look like it. Blue Java ice cream. I think they're trying to show here that the seeds are weird. Now, I don't know if you remember that fairly old banana Mandela, where people remembered bananas having like seeds a little like this, but like more little ones around, and even the seeds in the store, tiny little speckle seeds that kind of were like, it was 3 loads of them. But apparently the current bananas in the store did not ever have those in my lifetime, but we definitely do have a memory of more seeds than that. So that's a whole nother can of bananas, can of worms. All right. Pink Beach. The sky is no longer blue in Northern California. It's hazy white with brown on the horizon. Yeah, interesting. Okay, I've noticed the last month or so that to me the sky is a bright, but brighter. So it used to be kind of more of a turquoise color way back. And then it got a deeper, like a darker blue, but it was kind of a grayish blue. And that was for quite a number of years. And lately, though, it looks like a brighter dark blue, like more of a gem tone. So I kind of feel like some of it looks fake, blue sky. Let me see if I can. This is tricky because I could be looking at this and I don't know if you see the same blue I see. So even if I point at the blue, but so this is kind of how it's been looking here. Like these, if that is of any help to you at all, maybe like this color. So back in the day, I kind of remember it being more like the bottom here, more of a turquoise color instead of this jewel tone, deep dark blue. Not that turquoise is not a jewel tone, but yeah. So like here, more like that, but not like that so much. Like this darkest top part, it would not have been there. So I definitely went through a couple years though when there was these weird high clouds, these high misty clouds, and then the lower clouds. So for me, there didn't used to be these weird high misty clouds. Well, looking back on it though, there was definitely days when you couldn't see the sky as well, but they blamed it on the smog. They just said that it wasn't clouds, there was just smog between me and the sky. It just made the sky look less blue. And then a storm would come in and blow away all the smog, and then you would see the beautiful blue sky. So now the story though is that there's these high misty clouds, and then yet you can still have these lower clouds. So these are a backup where these used to be, the big puffy clouds used to be way up there where the misty clouds are now. So you get a very weird look to it. So I kind of feel like when something disappears for a couple of years and then it's going to come back, it's going to come back looking weird. And that's kind of been how I feel about the sky lately. It was misted over for a few years, and now we've got this deep, dark blue now that people kind of forgot what the sky looks like. Ufology took 2 step backwards and digressed for our progress for UFO transparency. Did we? I'm not sure what we're talking about here. Oh, you're just joking about goofy alien stuff. Laugh all you want. I know they sound ridiculous, but I really wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the line, the weirdest stuff became true. I feel like we're kind of on that route. We're we're already kind of there, that just stuff that was ridiculous, like everything used to always be Darwin's theory, but now we have this epigenetics and stuff is complete opposite of Darwin's. I mean, everybody would have just laughed at that before. Vancouver used to have the most beautiful blue skies now. So let's see, do we still have a bunch of fires in like Canada or something? I guess we're blaming it on that. Bananadella, yeah. Mandela, Bananadella. Yeah, the sky is one of the weirdest. I don't know. It bugs me that they're so low. I mean, I've definitely gotten a lot more used to it. And one of the weirdest things about that was that it was quite some time ago, you know, like before. So I learned about the Mandela about 7 years ago. And it was maybe, what, a year or two before that my mother died. And the day after she died, I was driving to work. And I just felt like this, I felt like the clouds were low and I felt claustrophobic. And I don't normally feel claustrophobic. And it was kind of freaky to me. I'm like, okay, this is a response to dealing with my mother's death. And, you know, it's just some psychology thing that it is manifesting in this way. The clouds aren't really low, but they felt so low, you know, and I was just like, so it was a couple days of cloudy after her death, and every day I was like, you know, kind of fighting this claustrophobia feel every time I looked at the clouds. And then blessedly, we had like a week of clear skies. And so I was driving that day and I'm like, no claustrophobia today because there's no clouds. So I just wrote off that feeling to my mother's death. But now I look back and I go, did I shift? And it was more than that. And it was kind of combining with, you know, it's always hard when your mother dies, you know, especially, or anybody you're close to, but, you know, something about family. So I look back on that and I'm like, of all the things for me to kind of flip out over for no obvious logical reason, it had to be the height of the clouds. I mean, what are the odds? What are the odds? So all right, so no, got those. Pfeiffer's gone. Okay, this one is a kind of interesting one. I just tumbled on it. Now, we already know there's a lot of us know there's this Mandela with Shirley Temple, okay? And the original Mandela for me was that she died in childhood, okay? And then later on, after I learned of the Mandela, we found out she was still alive, okay? So like, whoa, no way, Shirley Temple is not alive. She died. So, and then after a little bit, she died again, like the old Shirley Temple died. Okay, so today I kind of stumbled on it and it said 10 years since Shirley Temple died. And I'm like, wait a minute. Her second time that she died was after I learned of the Mandela. And I've only known of the Mandela for 7 years. So how could it be 10 years ago that she died, you know, for me the second time? So that's impossible too. So that's another Mandela for me. The second time she died was within the last 7 years. And she didn't, well, that's kind of weird. She didn't look like that. Whoa. Actually, I'm just looking at this. Okay. She had like this light colored hair. The Shirley Temple that died for me within the last 7 years. All right, I'm going to have to look at some more images now. I just realized that looking at that. Okay, so she died in the second death of Shirley Temple was February 10, 2014, which is quite a bit before I knew of the Mandela. So making sure I'm still in the scene here. Oh, you can't see that. Yeah, I forgot. I've got it so you can't see it. All right. And I remember her being kind of this blondish, light, sandy colored hair. Um, Actually, that's weird looking at her like that. Let's see. Oh my gosh. That's not how she looked. Okay, so I guess she... Now that looks like a wig, but I just never saw it. That one does not look like a wig. So I guess in this timeline she got this dark hair, and then when she got old she did... That's crazy though. She looks totally different now than the one had died the second time. She kind of looks like Roseanne Barr or something. You know? Like, that's a whole different look. So, okay. So that one, this is interesting. I'm starting to hear more about celebrities dying earlier. And I have said before that there were no, in the past, I don't recall any dead agains. We get alive agains, but we don't get dead agains. This is not quite dead agains because she didn't, the status didn't change from where I saw it. I mean, like, it changed 8 years ago to a few years earlier. It's not like I thought she was alive yesterday and then it turns out she died 6 years ago. But I'm wondering if we might be moving towards dead agains being possible or showing up in the Mandela. I'm really not sure, but it kind of used to be died later, and now I'm starting to see some died earlier is all. This girl, I don't know who this woman is. I have not seen this face in an adult. I'm kind of looking at the actual Shirley Temple as a child too, and I'm like, that face there looks different. All right, does this look like Shirley Temple? I mean the hair, but this face here with the cheeks out that far. I'm wondering if maybe she herself is a tad different. And then we end up with this different... Basically, it's like a different person is playing that role now. It's interesting because these ones where she looks different are all blurry, of course. But that does not look like Shirley Temple. Yeah, anyway, different. Yeah, Shirley Temple Black was later. So for some of us, at least at some point, the Mandela was, we remember her dying a tragic accident in childhood, and that's why there were no more of her movies. And then we moved to a timeline where she had just like gotten less popular and grew up and had a normal life and married and stuff. But so for me, the Mandela now is that she died a few years earlier than I remember her dying, because I remember her dying post-Mandela Effect knowledge. So yeah, she had to die earlier, and she looks different now, because I saw her adult grown-up self before, and she didn't look like that with the black hair and stuff. Crazy that in upper Minnesota we can have really thick pea soup fog on the ground, but you can look up at night and see the stars through the fog. Yeah, that didn't used to be possible, but I have seen some stuff like that. The other thing I've really noticed is although fog used to be somewhat clumpy, it's way more clumpy. It's more like just full chunks of cloud sitting on the ground. I mean, I know technically it is cloud sitting on the ground, but it used to kind of go in a blanket instead of chunks. And I see that a lot in the mornings now. It's just weird, like no fog here and then a chunk of fog here, and it's cool looking, but I just didn't used to get that. Shirley Temple definitely died at age 10. I don't remember exactly, but I know she was quite young. She still had that cute face, you know. Yeah, see, logical danger. That's what I feel. I feel like her face as a kid was a little off from what I remember. Shari doesn't recognize her. Yeah, she does look like Rosanna. Um, yeah, you know, the other thing is it looks like she used to just have these cute little lips. I think they were bigger, and now it looks like they're putting like lipstick on her and stuff. It doesn't look like that was like her lips got like tiny or something. I mean, that wasn't how she looked. She had this she had more like, I don't know how to describe it, but if you have light hair, a lot of times the individual strands are just not as thick. So you might have a lot of hair, so your hair itself is not thin, but each strand is thinner, and it's harder to maintain a tight, a strong curl because the hair is just kind of deflates. It won't hold the shape as well. So it's, if you have naturally lighter hair, it just tends to deflate and be flat a lot easier. So if you have dark hair, often the individual strands themselves are thicker, and so you can get more volume. And she basically has the dark hair volume here, where she can have it, you know, it's easier to have tall hair. You see here, this is dark hair, tall hair. It's just a different, it's a different texture of hair. And she used to have the light colored hair. You don't have to be totally blonde, but she had that less wave, and she kept her hair light. And you can see by the eyebrows here, her eyebrows are dark in there, dark and thick, and that just wasn't her, the adult her last time I saw her. She was a lighter skinned, lighter haired person with concomitant features of that type of person. You know, I'm looking here too, and I see like her eyebrows are bigger in this Shirley Temple. She's got those big eyebrows. That's one thing that's definitely sticking out for me, is the eyebrows are large. You don't notice as much in the black and whites, which is interesting, but all of these colored ones, the eyebrows are larger. And I don't think, whatever age this is, I don't think she made it to that age for me. That she looks too old in that one. Actually, I'm kind of curious now. Let's see. What age is this? Does it say? Visit. 1938. All right, when was she born? She was in... Okay. Now, you guys have said you remember her dying at 10. This is her at about 10, so... That's another young girl playing Shirley in a movie. I know, that's kind of my feeling, you know? Yeah, that's my feeling. Joe Bloor also. I wonder if she's got that. So one thing that I think a lot of people liked about Shirley back then was she just was a really sharp, she had that, the eyes of, you know, intelligence, and sharp and quick-witted, and she just was really energetic and happy and blah, blah, blah. At least she came off that way, but you knew that she was not a slow young girl. She was very, I don't know, just there's a lot going on up there, a lot of brain power in there. So I'm kind of curious if I went back, if I would still get that impression. Like when she did her line, she snapped him out there, you know. She looks like Priscilla. She does kind of look like Priscilla. Like half Priscilla and half that other girl that I said. Yeah. So, yeah, there's like a different person plays Shirley Temple in this reality. It's just, yeah, it's a Priscilla Presley, Shirley Temple something. Do you remember that Hair Gay was gay? I don't know who Hair Gay is, so I don't remember. So I guess we shouldn't be surprised, but I guess, you know, normally when I see these shifts, the person, their face structure might look different, but they're still, I don't know, like this one just looks really different. This is like a whole different adult. It's not just a little bit, you know, like it's not just like, oh, they have a different color eye. This just looks like a completely different person. So maybe they can change more if they're not as popular. Most people didn't really know the adult Shirley Temple anyways. All right. I ran into this. I don't know if you ever heard of I've just been hearing about it, the Year Without Summer. Have you ever heard the Year Without Summer? I'm wondering if this is going to have something to do with the Tartaria stuff, so. Well, that reminds me, there's going to be, speaking of Tartaria, there's actually going to be like a kind of Tartaria, and maybe also it looks like there's some Mandela Effect pipples in San Diego in a month. It's so they're going to have like this expo, SoCal Air Ant Expo. The pre-sale's over, so the ticks are $138 plus, I think, is it $11 for Eventbrite fees. So it comes out to like $149. All right, I'm not paying for that now because I already did, but I am going to go to it because this is in San Diego, so it's really close, and I won't have to do airfare. I don't have to do hotel. It's just gas. And it's in Adams Avenue Theater, which I don't know what that is, but whatever. It's somewhere in San Diego, so I'll figure it out. But who is going to be at this thing? Okay, so Danny, you may know Danny Arnold McKinney from Removing the Shackles, because the Removing the Shackles is a Mandela Effect channel. I think she has removed her shackles of the YouTube. She's kind of moved off of YouTube, but she's still like on other places like Odyssey and I don't know where all out, but so she kind of has like that kind of long light colored hair, really long, and she does like a group chit chat with a bunch of people, and they talk about all kinds of stuff. Like they'll talk a little bit, she talked a lot about Mandela for many years, but they also talk about general conspiracy theory, you know, all kinds of, a little bit more doom and gloomy than my favorite style, so I tend to watch a little less now because I'm just trying to move away from that, but you know, it's still, there's a lot of really popular content if you don't mind that flavor to it, because that's pretty much like really popular stuff right now. Anyway, but she's really sharp. She's got a lot of sharp people on with her. I don't know if it's just her or her husband's also coming. Her husband's pretty sharp also. So she's coming. She'll be on there. I don't know what they're going to talk about. The rest of these guys look like they're more like Tartaria people. And you probably know Martin Liedtke if you're at all into that. He's into the Flat Earth and Tartaria stuff. Max Egan from the Crow House, I guess, is going to be there. I don't know all of these. Logan, Jason, Dakota Reality. Oh, and Campbell Purvis from Autodidactic. I do watch Autodidactic. Joel from Perceiver. I don't know that one. Jason Breshears from Archaics.com. I haven't really watched that one, but I might check out a couple more of these, because a lot of these I have seen. might be worth going. I don't even know what they're going to be talking about, and I guess they're going to stuff it all into one day, and then everybody's going to be able to eat lunch in the cafeteria, so you can all eat lunch together. I actually have, like, I'm kind of curious, you know, to talk with Danny, but I don't know her, and I don't think she knows me, so that might be not likely. All right, then there's just lists of hotels and stuff. So this is on Eventbrite, SoCal Errant Expo. I'm not sure why they call it Errant. I think it's, actually, I really don't know why they called it Errant. Probably these guys have talked about it on their shows some. I know Archaics has a little blurb on it. Although, ironically, I was laughing because Archaics said it's going to be in the OC. And OC is Orange County. It's really not in Orange County. Orange County is north of San Diego County, and they're having it in San Diego County. Now, maybe he's staying at somebody's house in the OC, but the actual event is going to be in San Diego County. So anybody, they still have tickets. I have no idea if they're anywhere close to selling out. I did feel like they had expected to sell out. There's still a month to go. It does seem like the Mandela Effect conference did sell out. You know, they still got a lot of people even a week before the show trying to get tickets. So one would tend to think that, okay, well, you know, once it's close to a month, there's not going to be more people, but apparently not. So apparently you do get a lot of people at the last minute. I think Max Egan is who Matt McKinley calls the old man in a chair on BitChute. I'm sure I must have seen him, and I'm sure if I click on it, I'll be like, oh yeah, that guy. But, you know, I missed out on the IMEC conference this year. I just chickened out on spending the money on the. I was hoping to kind of go in with other people, but nobody else I know went. Because I'm like, well, if I share, you know, like maybe we can share a hotel, we can share a car rental, you know, that kind of stuff. I could really cut down on the cost. But nobody that I could have gone with did any of that. And at the last minute, I went, But this one I feel like is going to be like a little one-day replacement for me. I hope, you know, hopefully I'll have a good time. I mean, the worst case scenario, I'll go there and I'll just sit quietly and watch all of those. And even that should be fun. So the only one I've heard of is Lead Key. Max Egan, I think, is really well known, though. Let's see. Well, who is that? Who else was on there? Egan is really well known. Those two. I just know of Danny because of the Mandela stuff. So I'm going to make a guess that she's not going to do too much Mandela, but who the heck knows? Now, I think that other guy, Archaics, he does Mandela too. So I think it's going to be pro-Mandela overall. I don't know if the subjects will come up, but they are not Mandela haters. Max Egan. Oh, you know what? Actually, I do. That's that old guy who... Isn't that guy who moved to Mexico? That's Egan, isn't it? I'm pretty sure. You know, Egan's last thing... I know some people who play it, and I end up watching for that reason, that they play it on our chit-chat. And like you said, he's a little pessimistic for me, so I tend to just be like, I just don't want to go down that route. I kind of just feel like the pessimism contaminates your mind, and I just... don't want to go there. And I don't want to be judgy, because I definitely was at a time when I loved that stuff, you know, like during the pandemic, and they're taking over the world, and but I just feel like now I just don't want to do that. And I'm not trying to be judgy against people who are, because I'll too well know, you know, for a long time I had the interest, but that's just me now. And I do think you just gotta have to go with what feels right to you at the time. I know Australian police was after Max, and he fled. That must be him then. Wait, okay, I'm looking this up. Max Egan. You know, it's hilarious because I did see Egan say something about coming to this area, and I'm all, well, that's hilarious, you know. I wonder if I'll see him, and then I'm like, nah, what's the chances? San Diego is huge, you know. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I am going to see him. It is going to happen. All right, Egan. Wait, that's not him. That's Jeff Berwick. Why do I have Berwick in here? Oh, that's why. Okay. Egan and Berwick hang out together in Mexico. Yes, that's the dude. This dude, this dude, this dude. So the last one that he was on, he actually did talk more about love and kindness and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I like that one better. It's this guy. Yeah, that's Egan. That's so hilarious. Max Egan exposes agenda. So I'm hoping that they'll just keep it with a lot of Tataria stuff and beautiful old buildings and old tech and that kind of stuff. And then I feel like then I could really enjoy it because I love that stuff. You know, new Mandelas, you know, I'm like, I could totally go with that. So I'm hoping it's going to be more positive, you know. I don't mind them talking about a cover-up. I just don't want to hear that the world is ending all the time. So I guess we'll just have to find out. Ooh, somebody had neck surgery. That's awful. Was it Ghosty 333 had neck surgery? Fingers crossed. It does seem like bones and stuff heal better in this timeline, so. I had eye surgery. Oh, okay. Well, hopefully it went well. You know, people I've known who've had that usually do recover pretty fast from eye surgery. Cliff High was looking for ways to send him money. They blocked his bank account and everything else in Australia. Oh, yeah. He was talking about that. You know, it's hard not to be depressed if you get cut off from all your money, because he used to have a YouTube and all these sources where people would just donate money now and then, and he didn't live really expensively, so that was plenty. So he didn't really go around trying to get more money. He didn't go around like pushing the money aspect because he didn't feel he needed it. But then now he had to flee Australia and he has no pile to take with him. You know, maybe it's good that he didn't, because freaking Australia would have ended up with it anyway. But, you know, if he could have, I don't know, if you're going to flee Australia, get your money out in cash and mail it ahead or something, because in various parcels, because apparently they ain't giving it. You know, I really do feel bad for the guy, and hopefully he'll get a couple dollars with this trip. Hopefully they won't mess with him in the United States. You know, maybe that's part of why he's feeling a little better, is that he'll have a couple dollars. You know, you can actually live on pretty little money in Mexico, which is also the really sad part, is that if he could get even a fraction of the money that he got when he was in Australia, he would be fine, because rent is low, food is low, those things, you know. So he just needs a couple dollars. So he tried to start like a bar type coffee shop, happy hour place up in Mexico, but they just didn't have enough business to keep it open, you know. So that didn't work out for him. I think he may have to just work on his media presence. I mean, I think he's got it in him. He's still got a lot of people know him, so yeah. So I don't think, you know, like, I don't think Max Egan's a bad guy at all. And I'm not saying any of them that are pessimists are. I feel like they're good people. It's just that I feel like if I get pulled into the pessimism, it just leads to like depression and stuff. And if you do believe in the manifestation, you make your own reality stuff, it could be a bad idea for that reason also. So for those two, but basically I just feel like if I hear too much pessimism now, I'm sort of like, you know, I just, there's a part of me that says, no, I don't. I mean, I'm not denying that bad things happen. I'm not denying there's crooked stuff. Yeah, but I don't want to dwell on him unnecessarily. Like, I think about it enough to recognize it's there, but I don't want to just like keep rolling it around in my head all the time. Can anybody explain how Australia got to be so tyrannical? I do not know, because in my old timelines, Australia had a different history. It was not controlled by Britain at its inception. That's a huge one. looking back, I've said before, it sounds ridiculous now, and even in the old days I was confused, but they used to say that they would dump prisoners there. It was the giant penal colony, but it was a penal colony that they did not take care of. They just threw people on the island and said, you deal with it, live or die. And I always wondered how that would work. I'm like, why don't they just, if they're gonna just like, they don't want anybody, why don't they just throw them over the ship and let them die? Like, why would you sail all the way to a distant island, then plop these prisoners on there? I mean, like, it sounds evil, but I'm like, it's not much worse than just throwing someone on an abandoned island, right? So always wondered about that, but apparently in this reality, they took the prisoners over, and then the UK had infrastructure and managed the prisoners, and a lot of the people moved over there just to live, and it wasn't all a penal colony, and the majority of residents have ancestors that were not prisoners. So maybe that's part of it, is that the old UK had all prisoner ancestors, so they're probably wild boys and people who don't listen to rules, and maybe that really influenced how they developed. And in this reality, like last I checked, it was like 60% of them, their ancestors came over as British citizens and they weren't prisoners. So maybe we just have a lot more obedient population now than my old timeline. I didn't even know until last week that America sent NAZIs to Canada and Australia. I don't think I've heard that before either. So first it was, the Nuremberg, and they imprisoned them, and then we started to hear, oh, well, we took a few of the scientists, so we took more of the scientists. Operation Paperclip, we took more and more of the scientists. So I guess we just took all the scientists now and funneled them all over. And see, it was all criminals. I mean, who knows if they were all really criminals. Maybe some of them just were inconveniently knowledgeable about things and stuff, but so Project Paperclip sent people to Canada and Australia now. Now you can see why they did that. I don't know. I mean, like, if we had really genius scientists that we grabbed out of Germany, like, why would we send them to Canada, Australia? I mean, if it was me, I was running the United States, I'd be like, they were so knowledgeable and I stole them, I would be like, I ain't giving them to Australia and Canada. They can go pound sand. I'm keeping them all here. So it's easy for me to get sucked into negativism, and then it becomes a time suck. Yeah. So not that I never get sucked into time sucks, but at least pick your time suck to be as positive as possible. So I do love, like, look at these old buildings, and maybe this was an ancient technology that harvested free energy, and I love that stuff. It's positive to me, because if we had it before, we can have it again. And we're seeing that physics is changing, so maybe, that's all part of it. I do kind of wonder, like, if we're building our past and our future at once also. So I wonder if all the interest in Tartaria and just the absolute freewheeling fantasy island dreamer, like, yeah, it looks like a trident, but maybe it was just a secret method of harvesting life force. I mean, it sounds totally wacky, but the more attention we give to things, the more they seem to come into reality. So maybe I do wonder if the Tartaria people are basically building the new physics with their attention and their imagination and putting things together and that kind of thing. So positive time sucks, word to live by. If you want to live a positive life, I really think you have to limit your exposure to negativity, and so that's a lot of why I'm doing it too, because I want to live more happy, and I just realized I can't be going over negative stuff in my head all day long and then expect to be happy. It's just not, those two are not compatible. Yeah, the Sagittarius past was great for most, not for me personally. So for me personally, my life is definitely better now than in the Sagittarius world. I think you just people are they're nostalgic, you know, for what they're familiar. I don't want my crappy past back, but you know, I do miss like the old sky and in the old pyramids and those things, you know. And maybe you just can't have one without the other. It's, you know, we have this new world now, so. And I don't miss like all the violent, you know, like there's even more worse violence on TV and stuff now, but yet it doesn't directly impact me. And I know that sounds very selfish, like, well, what about all those people? And I don't know. Again, I don't even know how much of that is real. That's why it's hard for me to really wrap my hand around what's going on. If I can change reality like that and transfer my thought to other people's mind. So I'm not saying you transfer your thoughts, but like, well, not in any different way than like I'm doing it. I'm basically up here yapping away. You guys pick. You know, you're like, no, that sounds legit. And then other stuff I say, you're like, nope, you're wrong. You know, you're picking. So I can't like force you to think anything. I can just lay out my ideas and you guys choose. And so in that way, though, people like Lead Key and them are having a really strong impact on the world just by their ideas and sharing them and being interesting. And the more they do that, the more attention goes on to their ideas. And you know, a lot of their ideas are fun, you know, not the negative ones, but all this ancient tech stuff. What if we had free energy? Free energy is like the best, right? I mean, we all want free energy. So what if we already had free energy? If we already had free energy, we can have it again. It's not, you know, even sounds like it was that complicated in their theories. We just didn't know how, we don't know how it works. Maybe they are hiding it from us, whatever. But it didn't look like it was super hard to get. So, you know, the whole idea of it is great. And so that's why I'm sort of like, yeah, keep talking about free energy. Talk about it more and more and more because I want to see it come into the reality. And if the tech is not that complicated, they're not going to be able to control it. Like whoever they is. Maybe they is always been our own limitations. You know, maybe all that crap we put on the government is our own fears. And, you know, maybe that's our excuse, you know, for not having developed. But, you know, we're on our way. We're on our way. All right, so the year without summer. I have not really heard of this until just recently, and I thought it was real interesting because it fits in a lot with the Tartaria stuff too. I've never heard of it, and they're still trying to decide like what caused it. So the latest official story, then basically they're saying that there was one year in 1816 where the summer didn't really come, and there was massive crop failures. Summer temps in Europe were the coldest on record. New England, greatest effects on New England, Atlantic Canada, and parts of Western Europe. The year was an agricultural disaster. You kind of have to realize, like, the European areas, you can't, like in my area in the winter, we that's actually our growing seasons because it's cooler, but we don't get snow. And it's not like totally frigid. So like lots of stuff like potatoes and peas and stuff, they grow like the bejesus because you still get enough sun and there's a ton of rain and like they just grow. But in some of the little colder regions, they can't grow that much in the winter. And if they don't get a summer, then they're kind of screwed. So I guess that's the story here. They didn't get a summer. The dust. Now, the current storyline, it was caused, they think, from dust from the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora in what is now called Indonesia. I've never heard of any Mount Tambora eruption. So that's extra weird to me. Like, this whole story has landed from outer space. You know, I've just not heard of anything. Causing unusual, I think they mean causing unusual cold and food shortages. The Old Farmer's Almanac founder inadvertently predicted snow for July. What? How could you predict something like that in advance? Mary Shelley drafted the dark tale Frankenstein while on holiday in Switzerland during this freezing volcanic winter. So I've not heard of Mary Shelley writing Frankenstein during apocalyptic freezes either. All right, actually, let me look. There's some more stuff on here. So they're calling it a volcanic winter. I've heard of nuclear winter, but I've heard the theory that a volcano could cause a winter, but I don't actually think I've ever heard the term volcanic winter. It was just a theory. It could happen. On the island of Sumbawa, Indonesia, never heard of that. Ranked 7 on the Volcanic Explosivity Index. Never heard of that. I really do feel like I'm an alien on this planet sometimes. There's like so many terms I'm like, what? It was the world's largest volcanic eruption during historic times. I've never even freaking heard of it. Comparable with the Minoan eruption in the 2nd millennia BC. The Ha Tepe eruption of Lake Taupo at 180 ED. And the eruption of Paektu Mountain. And the eruption of Mount Somalis? I've never even heard any of those. The heck, man? I mean, like, we used to hear about Krakatoa and stuff. I don't even know what they're talking about here. Then other large volcanic eruptions with VEs of at least 4 around this time were the 1808 Mystery Eruption, the Soufriere of St. Vincent, Awa in the Sangihe Islands, Suwano-Sajima in the Ryukyu Islands. Ryukyu Islands weren't even there for me, and Mayon in the Philippines. I have not heard of a single one of these. This is making me crazy. In China, there was profound famine. Floods destroyed many remaining crops. Monsoon season was disrupted, resulting in overwhelming floods in the Yangtze Valley. Okay. North America, the fog reddened and dimmed the sunlight, such as sunspots were visible to the naked eye. A persistent dry fog was observed in parts of eastern United States. Dry fog? What the heck is dry fog? The weather was not in itself a hardship for those accustomed to long winters. I think that's North America. High levels of tephra in the atmosphere caused a haze to hang over the sky for a few years after the eruption. Tephra. Never even heard of that. What the heck is tephra? Tephra is fragmental material produced by a volcanic eruption, regardless of composition. Okay. I think they did something about... I did see something about disease. Let's see. Find... let's see. All right. More than people died. 65,000 people died as the disease spread out of Ireland. Typhus. Okay, so typhus kicked in between 1816 and 1819. Okay, so then 3 years of typhus hit Europe. That was it. Caused by famine. Yeah, I say that and then I give this miserable thing. But yes, that was 1816. It's not now. Carrie Kay was explaining that all the timelines and realities are now here at the same time. It's up to us to choose which one we want to experience. It does feel like it's something like that. I do kind of feel like it just... I feel like certain interests I've had for a long time are showing up in reality. So... it could be I just shift. I'm just like scooting over to the timeline I want. Maybe I shifted a lot because I've changed a lot. So I don't fit in the old reality and I'm like moving quickly for that reason. And if you look at it from a quantum theory, the quantum perspective is basically that all timelines are explored at once, right? Like that's why quantum computers are supposed to be so fast, because instead of having to go one at a time, options, and go this and this and this, instead of doing that, it just does all of them. Boosh, you know. So maybe that is reality. It's just quantum. It's like I'll just live everything at once. Like whatever consciousness is in the earth or operates will just check out everything. What happens if this is done? What happens if we make that choice? Millions and millions and millions. Of course, the sheer phenomenal consciousness level that would be necessary is completely phenomenal and beyond comprehension. But who the heck knows? I have heard sometimes thoughts coming from other people. People are close. Yeah, I have had that too. Yeah. At first, you may think that they're mumbling it, and then you look, and their mouth's not moving. At least that's how it was for me. And it's rare. I don't do it a lot, but... And I haven't had in a long time, but you know, I don't hang out with people as much as I used to. It seems like everybody's like that now. People just don't want as much time with other people. I still see other people, but not like all day, day after day, like I used to. I've heard the theory that our creator is actually beings that created us to be food for them, all our negative emotions. You know, I've heard that too, and I don't know if they're actually mutually exclusive. I mean, when you look at an ecosystem, it's very complicated. I do think that in order for there to be a challenge, there has to be like roads that you regret, like mistakes, right? When you have a video game and you can't lose, it's just not interesting. So maybe the negative threats, challenges, temptations, whatever, are part of the system to then you know when you're gone the right way because it feels better, theoretically. And maybe that does feed, you know, a type of consciousness that likes that, you know, and at the same time, it is a learning experience for us. I mean, it could be that a lot of these things are kind of all folded together. That's one of the things I think about a lot. So which one do you concentrate on, you know? I'm more in sync with the theory that says we are here in these bodies as avatars and the real us are somewhere outside experiencing these, and the problem happened when some entity cut our connection. That's interesting. So most of the ones I've heard is basically that we chose to not totally cut the connection, but we chose to weaken the connection and mostly not remember, in order that we could experience the video game without the knowledge of what will happen, like as part of the video game. So, I don't know. I do think there is some kind of higher self thing, something that can be accessed. And I think we've all had times when we suddenly, you know, saw through something, we had some kind of epiphany, and even if you have a novel idea, you're just like minding your own beeswax, maybe you're driving, you're in the shower, someplace where your mind is at rest, and suddenly you just think of something, like suddenly, oh yeah, that's the answer to that thing from 3 weeks ago, or oh, this is the solution to blah blah problem. You weren't even thinking about that problem, and suddenly boosh, it's just delivered like out of the blue. Like, where does that thought even come from? You know, you have to wonder. Elephant fish. Now, I don't think I've heard of elephant fish. So anyway, I thought I'd go to that SoCal thing. I just feel like it kind of, I don't know, there's a couple of weird coincidences that I just found out about that. And, you know, that's a weird looking thing. Elephant fish. Oh, it's an electric fish. Now, we used to have electric eels. We have electric fish now. Elephant fish, known as freshwater elephant fish, are a superfamily of a weakly electric fish. A superfamily in the Osteoglossiformes native to Africa. They are the largest. So now we've got electric fish. It's not just eels. Peter's elephant-nosed fish, known as elephant-nosed fish, long-nosed elephant fish. The Australian ghost shark, known as elephant fish, is a unique-looking fish with an elongated protruding snout. Okay, so this, I believe, then, is the freshwater elephant fish. Weakly electric. Okay, I'm kind of seeing it. The elephantness of it. I kind of wondering if maybe, you know, there's kind of like the elephant ear and there's like the snout. Now, I wonder if the snout will get longer and look more elephant-y. 10 inches. So they're pretty big fish. 6 to 10 years lifespan. So you can keep these in the aquarium. They're freshwaters. Omnivores. So these are aquarium fish. They're kind of goofy looking, aren't they? Look at that. Oh, look at how the bottom of the... Yeah, that's pretty strange. I don't think I've seen those. And the eye kind of... Okay, and these kind of look like the ears from that angle. I wonder if that's going to get more extreme with time. Alright, and then here is a sideways view. Huh, interesting. So these are weird. It's like the tail almost looks like another fish stuck in that fish. Like that looks like one fish, and this should be the tail, but now there's another a third of a fish back here because it has like another piece of body and then another tail. So it's just like kind of Frankenstein fishies here. I wonder if that one is gonna develop more strangeness as time goes on. I wouldn't be surprised. Here's another one. All right, yeah, see it. It's like it couldn't decide what body to have. It looked like somebody ate the back third of it or something. That is a weird looking fish. You know, I used to have aquarium freshwater fish, and I was always looking for weird, bizarre freshwaters, and that wasn't in there. Anybody else work with very blurry vision, almost blind? I kind of always did that for a long time. It's just like my, I'm not almost blind, but I can't focus good right after I wake up. It's like, stuff's blurry because I haven't, like, I don't know what is required to get the eyes to focus sharply, but it doesn't kick in right away. I can feel the higher self more. Very interesting. It's like my conscious is sitting beside me and telling me what is right and what is wrong. Huh, okay. So I just kind of like, I just get a feeling, and it's like, it's not that, it's different than the down here me. Like the down here me is kind of like tense and, oh, what if this, what if, yeah, but what if, like worry, or relax, okay? And if it's relaxed, it's kind of like either happy or quiet. But the higher self thing is more of a peaceful knowing. That I don't know how to describe it, but it's not all like nervous phobia, paranoid feel, and it's not like the mindless happiness either. It's, if I get the happy, it's more of a peaceful. I don't know how to describe it any better. It's not a very good description. I do think, like, whatever you want to call it, the veil is thinning. I think that's a lot of why people are going bonkers. Like, people are acting crazy because you have to deal with your stuff now. Like, all that stuff that was you swept under the rug your whole life. You got to deal with it now. Either deal with it or it eats you. And so I think there's a lot of pressure on people to get it together. The blue tip moth is easy to miss. All right, so one of these, oh, okay, so this here is the blue tip moth. I get it. This guy right here. It looks like a snap twig, but it is a blue tip moth. That's amazing. I have not seen those before. So let's open it up a little larger so you can see it. No, I just want to see. No, I want the image. Open image anew. So you could kind of see it's a little bit symmetrical back here. And then if you really look, there's feet. 1, 2, 3 feet right here. And this is actually kind of swept back instead of poked forward like these ones. And it's like some kind of fuzzy stuff. That's the moth head. I'm thinking right in here maybe is like the antennas or something. Yeah, I have not seen that though. That's pretty impressive. Now, all right, here's one on an arm. That would have made a nice thumbnail, but then you'd be like, why did you make a thumbnail that's a stick? So there you can see the head, and then these wings open out like chunks of bark, and there's a little foot right there. Curious what's under there. All right, so do we get to see it with its wings sticking out or no? Buff tip moth. Buff tip moth. All right, so there it is, sitting on a log. So you can see the, I think maybe the eyes in there, feet. And then this is, well, not a log, but a stick. Side view. I want to see what the, oh, here we go. Wings sticking out. So it looks fairly ordinary with the wings sticking out. Cool. Yeah, I've not seen that one before. Okay. Okay, so this part here, you can kind of see if you look from the back, it's going to look like the other end of the twig. So unless you're paying attention, you could easily just think, okay, that's either end. It kind of looks like a twig. Until he unfurls his wings, then you know. That's pretty cool, though. People are going crazy, out of control driving, road rage, adults throwing temper tantrums. Yep. Yeah. I like I've said before, I definitely did feel that my mind was like scattery, like for a while. I feel better lately, and I think it's the concentration on the positivity. I really do. I feel like I'm able to cut through the fog better now, the more I just go. So it's tricky. Like I've said before, I come from a fairly negative childhood, and I just had this real habit of negativity, and the more I really look at myself, the more I just saw that I was kind of judgy on everything, and myself at least as bad, and all the time, like all day long. And you just can't be happy when you're walking down the street going, oh, I gotta cut those weeds, and ew, I wish that tree was over there more. And oh, I wish and oh, I've got all this work to do, and oh, I got to do this later, and oh, I'm so far behind. And if I wasn't so lazy, I would have done that last year, but that's just how I've always been. And yeah, and you just do that all. I just realized I was doing that like 95% of the day, and you just can't be happy. You're so I had to really make a point of going, okay, what's good around here? So, the whole gratitude thing, I wouldn't call it gratitude, but I think that's the general direction. It just, appreciation might be a word that would fit better for me, but gratitude would work. It's just like, concentrate on what's good in life, because there's a lot of good things. Just like, I have this nice bed, I picked these sheets, I love the decor in here, and I could just say, hey, look, I haven't vacuumed for a while, but I could look at all the other things that I do like in here instead of the one thing that I don't, or even the 5 things I don't, because there's 50 things in that room that I like. And so which one do you spend your time on? The one thing you didn't do, or the 50 things you did do and all that you did accomplish. So it's been a battle, because I just was so deep in the habits my whole life doing that. And I do feel a lot better. Not the first millisecond, but it's just like a slow walk towards feeling better. And that's how I had to do it. I don't know why the negativity is so attractive, too. It's just like, there's definitely, you would not think that there is, but, you see the popularity of these doom and gloom things and stuff, where people get so much attention for that kind of thing. And it's really popular even on our channels, And like I said, I'm not saying that everything's all perfect in the world, but it just, once you recognize, okay, this is happening, okay, but I'm just not going to watch that footage like 100 million times and think about it all day. It's not accomplishing anything. I mean, yeah, go out and help those people then, but it's just sitting here watching the video over and over and over. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So, yeah, there's, and I don't want to be like, I got better and now I'm judging everybody. I know how hard it is. Believe me, I know how hard it is to reform once you're in that habit. I had like decades of practice getting into that habit, so I know. And I'm not trying to be judgy at all, or even say I'm like better than other people. I just found I had to do it like so I wouldn't be miserable, and so my brain would work. And I do find that my brain is working a lot better. So it's kind of a survival thing. My sister is an example of a rock-solid mind that refuses to crack. I have definitely met people like that, and then sometimes a few times they've really surprised me. It was like, suddenly, they crack, like they just, like, suddenly they're saying all this new stuff, so you'd be surprised sometimes. There's people I'm like, that guy is never going to believe in the Mandela. Never. And then the next thing you know, he's like, oh, well, maybe it's a Mandela. What? What did you say? One thing that does help sometimes is if you just come at people with a different, like, however you usually deal with them, just try something different. And sometimes you'll get a really different response out of them. And I think we tend to get locked in these ways of relating to people. And we want them to change and they want us to change, and neither one of us change. But if you change and you just, like, change how you deal with them, sometimes that was the thing that was needed to, like, let them actually move, or at least make it easier for them to move, is to just be different. Like with my mother, at one point I realized that I'm not going to argue with her anymore. I'm just not going to get involved in arguing with her, because we just get, she liked to argue, and she knew all the buttons to push, to start arguments. And at some point I just realized, I'm like, I'm not going to let her push any buttons, and she can push the buttons all she wants, but I'm just not going to do it. And then we got along better after that, because she couldn't come to me to argue because I wouldn't. And I just, she was real bad. I just go, oh, I'm leaving. I'll see you later, and it just, something changed. And So she stopped coming to me to argue because she couldn't find an argument there. So what did she do? She went and argued with other people. But at least it wasn't me, you know. She had to go find someone that was willing to argue, and it wasn't me. We got along a lot better after that. My brother is still following the liberals and Dems and always defending whatever. Yeah. And I know people who do the same with the Republicans, and I just don't want to get sucked into it. I do. That's actually one of my weakest ones, is I do get sucked into that. That's one I got to work on. Because I don't like either side. So whoever's saying a bunch of baloney, I'm like, nah. But I'm learning to bail out of there. And just go, look, they're all crooked. And that's all I'm saying. That whole thing is definitely a sticky wicket, though. Fighting over the politics never used to be such a big thing. And people are so, like, extremist about it now, too. It's just hilarious. It's like, all Republicans are not this, and all Democrats are that. And I'm like, no, they're not. Almost all of them are not anywhere near that bad. And that's the worst thing they do, is that the worst thing Republicans do is say all Dems are like this, and the worst thing that Dems do is say all Republicans are like that. But neither side are really, the majority of either side are not like the other side is accusing them of. They just, other than accusing the other side. So it's like ridiculous. There's no candidate yet. Like a giant meteor from space for president. I know. I'm voting third party. Problem solved. That means no. Whoever gets in, it wasn't my fault. I didn't vote for them. I do think it is a distraction, though. It just sucks. It's another negative time suck. I totally agree with it. I definitely agree with that. And, I do think when the time comes that we're raised up for, I like this, it's all a uni party. Like, they're all bad. I kind of like that idea, especially because I think that if we can all just quit taking sides on that and instead just work on the problems and fixing them and looking at, solutions all together and stop saying the Dems did it, the Republicans did it. I think we all look at solutions. I think that solutions will show up rapidly, very rapidly. The minute we let go of the petty bickering. We're over here petty bickering while the house is burning down. I don't think the house is really burning down. I think the flames are a special effect. I think that the house will not burn down. But it is like that. As far as this video game, we're made to feel like the house is burning down. And instead of like getting the water buckets, we're all arguing over whose fault it is that the fire got started, And I think the minute we all went, okay, let's just get the buckets and do something on the actual problem. I think once we all work together, I think you'll find the problem very quickly improves when we're all on the same page. Not just because we work together, but I think psychologically the power of all working together on solutions instead of finger pointing, judging, and blaming and everything. And I think you'll find, Mandela showed us the solutions can magically show up. When we all decide that we want solutions more than we want to blame the other guy and argue and bicker over stupid crap. I think if we all want solutions, they will show. I don't even think that, you'll find that, oh, you know what? It turns out that they invented this 3 years ago. Oh, okay, let's just use that, But we need to come together on solutions. And you'll see, politics is such a perfect example because you'll say, well, Biden did this. Oh, yeah, but Trump was worse. Oh, yeah, but Mitch McConnell, but Nancy Pelosi was worse. But then Reagan did this. Yeah, but before Reagan, Kennedy did that. But, oh, yeah, but before Kennedy couldn't do that because so-and-so did this. And it just goes on forever. You will never get done. You will never get done. And one thing I've been coming back lately and going, okay, well, that was 30 years ago that Reagan did that, and both sides had plenty of time to change it, and neither side did. Therefore, they're all guilty. And then they can't really argue, because if you had 30 years to change something, you can't blame it on one side either, but. All right, so let's, I'm going to get 25 more minutes here. Oh, this one's, okay. Should I talk about, you know what, I'm going to save that one till next week. It's not that big a deal one, but it has a beautiful thumbnail potential, so I might need a thumbnail next week. I'm going to save that one for next week. So let's go back. This is one we've discovered before. Floating islands. Okay, we talked about floating islands. I've covered this one. But I feel like the islands on here have definitely upgraded since last time I looked. So we talked about the Lake Titicaca Islands where they took the reeds and then they made floating islands. And that kind of showed up like maybe 5 or 6 years ago where the humans were making these floating islands, okay? But what's interesting is when they first started making those islands, they didn't have like stuff growing on them and stuff. So now this is a floating island, but there's like an upgrade because they put the reeds down, but we also have like these growing reeds and like they're looking more islandy is my point. And then we get these neat ruins nearby. Okay, let's see. So this is Lake Titicaca. All right, so these islands look different to me because now there is shrubbery and everything on them. There's more of them. They used to just be like golden colored mats of reeds, and then they would take more reeds and stack, and that was the story. We just keep stacking the reeds. And I'm like, well, how do they have these houses on there if they have to stuff reeds under there? Because the bottom layer rots over time is the story. So I don't get like how this is done, but there's definitely more homes on here. These were just reed homes before, but now they're like regular homes with like tin roofs and stuff. This is definitely a heavier, more fancy construction. And there's tons of these. You know what is weird is I just went to LakeTiticaca.com like yesterday. And this was not the images that was on there. So I'm like, did they change it yesterday? Okay. Did they change it according to the search history of the person visiting? All right. But here's kind of what I wanted to show. The old ones were kind of simple, if you remember back that far. But the new ones are more islandy, more organic. They have, these are way bigger. I mean, look at all the structures that are on one of these islands. Plus, you've got real reeds growing here, which you can harvest from to then lay out on this reed island. I mean, these are, look, there's solar panels on these houses and stuff. This would be styling. You have your own, like, floating island. This is, like, way nicer than it was before. And, like, they have these super fancy boats now. Before, they just had reed, like, rafts. Now, there was no, like, giant banana awesome possum boats like this. I mean, this whole setup, they were kind of like poor people's, you know, like, raggedy survival, eking out a living kind of a thing last time I went and checked. And now, it's kind of like styling, the bright color clothes. Banana, I mean, these look like banana peel boats. They're awesome. There was no banana peel boats. There was no solar panels, okay? Let's see. Now, there was somewhere, like, it used to be on LakeTiticaca.com, that it showed a whole giant ring of these from above. I feel like they're kind of, the edges are all neat. Now I'm kind of upset because I had that saved, and it's, I'm like, oh, I'll just go to LakeTiticaca.com and I show you, but it's not on there now. Did it shift again? Look at these boats. These are so awesome. Did not have, like, this awesome beast boat. It's like so cool. This is like, this is the architecture of somebody who has some time to put in beautiful art, not just like eking a living out. These are awesome looking things. It's like fairy tale land almost. I mean, I'm not saying these people don't work hard, assuming that they're more than just background screen. But, I mean, these are just way neater floating island-like things than there were before. You know what's irritating is I can't find that image. Oh, here. This is the image that was on LakeTiticaca.com. Image in new tab. Okay, so it wasn't like this before. And I had, luckily, what I read before I wrote it down. So the story then... And you got to realize I looked at this a couple years ago. So it wasn't the 1980s, okay? It was just a couple years ago since I knew of the Mandela. But the story now is that until the mid-80s, islands were further out in the lake, inaccessible to visitors until a big storm came in the 1980s and they moved them in here. So the old story was they would get on these floating islands and they would fish from them and stuff. And now they're just lining the shores, I guess, because of the big storm. I don't even remember there being these like weird inland rivery things here. Because this is sort of weird in a way. It's like, why don't you just do it on the shore then? You know, like why make a floating island and then have it parked on the shore for 20 years in a big old line? Or you know, there's not... This time when I checked, there's no story that they are like... First of all, the old islands weren't this big, so you could shuttle them around more. I don't think you could move this. You know, it's got like 5 houses on it. Like, well, if you're going to do all that, why not put it on the shore here? Well, maybe the shore is owned by the government, but the lake isn't or something. So now you have like this... I don't know, it's like you've got your own little... I'm go out to the middle of the lake and go... I'm putting my house right here because nobody owns the middle of the lake. And, you know, here is my middle finger, you know. I don't know, but it's just the whole thing is bizarre. So it made more sense before because they'd scoot these ships or these boats around, these islands around and fish and stuff out. And they could get out by the fish. But now they're just sitting along the shore for the last 40 years. So now it's just getting strange. That's not how it was. Like, how do you decide where you're gonna put all these things? They're just along the shore. Can they move them? I wasn't able to find much info on them other than that bit that I just gave you. They all got solar panels now, so styling. All right, and then I found this other one. You can tell I just like floating islands. I just think it'd be cool. So, you know, we're definitely getting so that they're talking about these peat bog islands naturally floating, and the idea of making man-made islands on your own is also really taking off. And so apparently this dude made a man-made island out of garbage, but it's a man-made floating island. This is the one, I believe. So what this guy did was he somehow got like plastic garbage and he would like crumple it all up and use it as floaty material, and then he plants plants in it, and then he puts dirt in with it, and the plants grow into the dirt, and then they make their own like island. It's its own floating island, and then he's like the plant roots hold up the island. And I'm when he was explaining it, I was still kind of confused because he's saying he even plants like freshwater plants, and I guess this is not freshwater. And I'm like, well, what happens when the roots get down? Like the plastic can't last forever, right? Shouldn't it break down in the salt water or not? I don't know. I'm just, so these are all growing here, and I'm like, well, how's he getting the water to them? And and yes, this is not no tiny little building over here, okay? So apparently this thing has been around since 2008. So 18, so like 15 years he's had this thing floating out here, and it stays afloat. Let's see if I can find, I think that's the same one. Joyshi Island eco-friendly floating paradise made of plastic bottles. Let me see if I can find written. Here it is. Written. So, I mean, is that the deal now? You can just... So he just kind of... It's like another little floating plastic bottle dinghy that he uses to get out. Oh, and he's got a rope here, so he just kind of goes like that across a plastic bottle floating island in Isla Mujeres, Mexico. Where is Isla Mujeres, Mexico? Isla Mujeres. So that's Mother Island in Mexico. Okay, so it's probably off the coast, so it probably is saltwater. Still, update 2022. Joyshi is no longer in Isla Mujeres. Richard is now building another island in Brazil. Didn't like Mexico anymore? Huh. That's the update of last year. Okay, so he was there 14 years. I don't know, maybe had some trouble with Mexico. Floats on 250,000 used plastic bottles. Is resident in Macax Lagoon, which Richard calls the womb of the fish, on Isla Mujeres, Mexico. All right, I got to see where Isla Mujeres, Mexico is. Bloop. So I'm assuming he didn't own any land, so he just decided, I'm going to float my own land. All right, well, there's Mexico. Where is it in there? It's not helpful at all. Map. I'm kind of wondering if it's over there by all that new stuff just along the coast. I guess most of Mexico is new stuff along the coast now. Where that, like that Baja Peninsula or the California Peninsula. I'm wondering if it's in there. All right, let's try not doing that. Let's try this. That one might help. No, the page is gone. All right, I give up. All right, so that guy. So anyway, more floating islands is my point. More floating islands. Beach. Ah ha 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 ha. Okay. Yeah, I probably should have done this a little sooner, but let us start Google Earth. You know, it probably won't load while I'm not looking at it, but we'll try. All right, so this one comes from Taro Eto, who is our regular person from Japan, and interesting that their name came out in English letters this time instead of in Japanese letters. So now I know it really should be, I guess, Taro Eto, like I was guessing. So I wasn't insulting them. Yay! All right, so they said look into Buryatia. So I'm kind of freaking out because, you know, Russia is just so weird now. But I guess there's a Republic of Russia. Lake Baikal. We do hear a lot about Lake Baikal. But it's, there's just so many weird parts of Russia now. There's like this Mongolian area. Now, the Mongolian issue used to be that China had Mongolia, but now they don't. But I guess there's Mongolians all in Russia here. And Russia looks like a horse with a big stomach. And so down here is this Buryatia. There's all these like parts of Russia I've never even heard of. And the other thing I'm confused about is I thought Siberia was up north where it's all cold. It's, okay, formerly part of the Siberian Federal District. I thought Siberia was the way up northy north spot, and I guess I was totally wrong about where Siberia was. So this area, Buryatia, is Mongolian people. I'm not exactly sure why that this person, Taro, put this up. Because I was sort of like, okay, I've never heard of it, and it was all Mongolian, yes. But it kind of got me on this thing where I, first of all, was just looking at Russia going, what? Because it is just so big. So that's one thing I kind of want to do is just look at Russia. Look at how fast this loads on this computer. It's amazing. See, stupid clouds. Who goes to Google Earth to see clouds? I do not know why they are forcing the clouds on me. Do you wish to see clouds when you wish to see the Earth? Get rid of the effing clouds. And then there's more of them now. What's up with that? I mean, is it supposed to be the real clouds that are actually on the Earth right now? Is it supposed to be real time or what? But it is effing irritating. They should at least have an option where I don't have to look at the clouds. And I have not been able to find any. So Russia is like all over here. Like, so it goes all the way. Here's Ukraine and here's Belarus. And then there's Russia. Russia. China is like a little chicken compared to Russia, which is the giant. Russia is ridiculous. There was no way Russia was that big. I mean, I keep saying it, but it just gets more and more true. Like, Russia is like 10 times bigger than Europe now. Russia was big before, okay? It was like Europe, and then there was Russia. Russia was like twice as big as Europe, maybe. That was it. I mean, maybe even just the same as Europe, but like one country versus all these little piddly countries. And when we go and look at Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan is ridiculous too. I'm not even sure if Google Earth's the best way to see this because it doesn't show different colored countries that well. Just kind of taking a quick gander here. Greenland is... I wonder if Greenland's going to be like the new North Pole or something. Because, boy, it is really working hard to get its butt up there. Look at all the snow showing up at the tip of South America here. Did not used to be snow. This gets more all the time. On the flip side, Canada gets less snow all the time. All right, I'm going to go. So one of the things I was looking at for these places is that there's now these... there's autonomous places in Russia. Have you ever heard of autonomous oblast? Autonomous, like areas of Russia are known as oblasts. I don't know if I'm killing that pronunciation, but have you ever heard of autonomous oblasts? Because that's one of the things that I got to looking into. But they do have like this autonomous section, and we're seeing these show up everywhere. Little autonomous separate areas. All right, so those are the regular ones. That's one of the reasons why it was interesting to run into... Okay, that's not that. Where is the autonomous? So the Jewish, okay, did you know there was like a Jewish autonomous area in Soviet Union, or in Russia? Soviet Union's gone. Jewish Autonomous Oblast is a federal subject of Russia situated in the far east of the country, bordering. I literally have never heard of any of these. I'm just like, okay, whatever. But there's, so it's like autonomous basically. The JAO, J-A-O, was designated by a Soviet official decree in 1928. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's just go to modern history. So it's another autonomous Jewish enclave, like Israel, is what they're saying. So there's proposals to merge it with adjoining regions, but the people in it said no, they don't want to. Would a merger be allowed according to the Constitution of Russia? But apparently, if Russia votes, then they could merge or change this. But the Jewish Autonomous Oblast is divided 5 districts. Blah. It has well-developed industry. So best I can tell it is fairly autonomous. There's people speak Yiddish. Kosher meat arrives by train from Moscow every few weeks. Soviet Zion. I mean, have you ever heard of this? It's crazy town. Okay, so not only do they have the autonomous oblast in Russia, but they also have autonomous okrugs. So okrug, I guess, means region. So it's not a whole oblast, but it is a smaller autonomous region. And they have multiple of these autonomous okrugs in Russia. All right, so they're showing them here. There's one at the head of the horse. This is 2, 4, 2, 3, 4. So, and some on the back of the horse. Type of administrative unit was created in the 1920s to provide autonomy to indigenous peoples of the north, like the Karelian National Okrug for the Tver Karelians. The 1977 Soviet Constitution changed the term national okrugs to autonomous okrugs. So there's a bunch of these things. So in 1990, 10 existed. Three autonomous okrugs with titular nationality constituted more than 30% of the population was abolished. 3 more have abolished, leaving 4. Well, I swear there was like none. There's always this storyline, they're getting abolished, but then every time shifts happen, we end up with like more of them. All right, public outright against any mergers. So I guess they could pick, you know, if they want to merge or what. So it seems like they have a fair lot of control. Anyway, so we're really seeing these like autonomous regions grow. So that's kind of my main point, though. Yeah, autonomous regions. So like what, there was 4 okrugs and 1 oblast. And it's Jewish. It's Jewish. It's the other Jewish autonomous region. There's 2 Jewish autonomous regions. One is Israel and the other is in Russia. Russia! There's old Persians living in China. I know. You know, the other thing I was just kind of looking at is Russia itself. I mean, like, let me just see, how about this? So when I was looking at it earlier, this was always kind of, was a confuser when I saw it earlier, because I remember Asia being like the East, right? Asia was in the East. And it occurs to me, I haven't really looked in a long time, but where is Asia and where is Europe? And it's confusing now because Russia is just all over the place, and it's making a confusing mess of things. Dang it, I found like 5 maps showed up on me earlier, but now I can't find them. All right, here, this kind of shows it. So they're basically, why is it so? There we go. Okay, so this is Russia. They're basically saying, like, this part of Russia is east, like the Orient, the east, like Asia, okay? This is Asia, and then this is Europe. Okay, so I'm kind of confused because I don't remember, like, half of Russia being Asia and a third of it being Europe. Everything they didn't split it like that before. But now with Russia all over the place, it kind of makes sense. So, but then, like, you got China in a weird spot. I don't know. It's just weird. It wasn't split like that. So what I remember is, like, China was way to the east, and then Russia was, like, over by Europe. And so it made sense to say that, like, China was the east, the Orient, Asia, and it was the Asian peoples, right? It was the Asian peoples that looked Asian that were from Asia. But now it's like a big chunk of it is just a bunch of Russians. And you don't think Russians are Asian, Okay, so this explains it here. Well, I think for me, basically, you had, like, Russia more over here, and then Europe's over here. Russia was over by Europe, and then Asia was, like, over here. And so when we say we remember Japan by China, well, China was more east over here, and it had Mongolia. And so it kind of made sense because it basically was on the east, and Russia was in the middle, and then there was Europe. And if you go over here, Europe is, like, so tiny now. And Kazakhstan is literally, like, the size of all of Europe now. If you go over here, Europe is, like, this big. It's ridiculous. Kazakhstan just won't stop growing. So, like, the amount that Russia dwarfs Europe is insane. And it even makes China look kind of small. And Mongolia, I swear, is getting big, too. I mean, like, it wasn't that big when I first saw all this. It was much tinier than that. I mean, it's almost as big as India now. And literally, Kazakhstan is the size of Europe. I thought that Saudi Arabia was getting big, but I mean, and maybe these other ones are getting smaller, and that's really what's happening. But either way, in comparison, there's some insanity going on over there. Let's see. All right, I think that covers everything I wanted to say. Got that huge Arctic ice cap. That's going to melt on us, brah. Oh, wait. Yeah, exactly. It went away. It's a Russian federation. But it was just Russia before. And also, I mean, they aren't all different countries. I don't know. It just wasn't that way before. There was not autonomous regions. I mean, if they're all different countries, then how can, they just be Russia and, the Russians? I mean, that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but you know what I mean. I always thought trees processed CO2 and made oxygen. Yeah, then they reverse it, and I heard about that about 15 years ago, and I go, they do reverse it? Because they don't really make oxygen, because they make carbon dioxide half the time and oxygen the other half. I'm like, well, why do we always talk about them for oxygen? Yeah, I know. There's been a lot of things in the past where I'm like, what? Wait a minute. Why do we worry about oxygen in trees if they only do it half the time and then they reverse it? Assuming that's still true. Oh, really? Many Europeans are moving to Russia so they can have interesting. Well, Russia's getting huge, so I don't know. I wonder if the size has to do with how much of a major player something's going to be. I do wonder that. Maybe America's shrinking down a little and Russia's going to be the big player. I mean, it definitely seems like it. It's an interesting concept. Maybe whatever country's going to be the big. So Great Britain looks a little larger than before, and indeed the history here, it had more history and control in more places. Think how quickly differences worldwide would vanish if we're facing alien threats. And, maybe that's why we'll make an alien threat, because then it's an excuse to come together. Maybe that is part of the plan, is everybody's going around going, oh, we'll come together if aliens come. So maybe that's part of the deal we made. Like, we need an excuse to get along. I don't know. I've been thinking about that lately, though. So I want to go to the timeline where we get along and it works out good. All right. We're at the end, so I got to run. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Thanks for the good Mandelas. You know the drills. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva, signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.